If you remember my last Deputy Cobb video, I inquired about his previous employment as an officer at the Henderson Police Department. The video's still up, but here's a refresher.
Excuse me, Deputy. I realize you don't want to talk to me, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you have any comments about your personnel records at HPD where they were going to fire you? And then you switched to another department? Anything, sir? Okay, fair enough. Thank you, sir. Hey, Deputy Cobb. Do you have any comments about your personnel records at Henderson Police Department?
You know I don't talk to you, bro.
Do you have any comments about one officer leaving a department before he's fired to move to another one? You know those kind
I gotta back out, so watch yourself.
What do you think about officers leaving one department before they're fired to move to another one? Do you think that's right? Do you think that's accountable? You probably do think it's accountable since, you know, it happened to you.
There's a lot I could say here, but I'm going to try to stay short and stay specifically on the topic of cops that act up, get threatened with being fired, or get fired, then get to move to another department after they've already demonstrated their mentality and actions of being shit at their job. Like I said, I'm trying to keep it short for this one, and here's my spiel. Listen or don't. It's up to you. If you get fired from McDonald's for being bad at the register, or you put too much frickin' salt on the fries, and you move to Wendy's down the street, who gives a shit? However, when you are being threatened with being fired from a job granting you such trust and authority to ruin lives, steal money and property, injure and or kill under a judgment of officer safety, violate rights, on, then no, you should not be permitted to move down the street to another department just to carry your same mentality to that frickin' department. Specifically speaking of Deputy Cobb, he refuses to even acknowledge he took an oath. Do you believe as a law enforcement officer you have an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution?
I'm not gonna make any comments.
No comments about that either?
Thank you.
Are you going to roll up the window and run away from me, sir?
No.
As some others do, but I'm going to give them another chance as well. And in my opinion, as stated numerous times in other videos, that to me shows both cowardice and a lack of actual belief in his oath. It also indicates to me he'd be the first, just like Abby Black. If you were ordered to unconstitutionally confiscate law-abiding citizens' firearms who've done nothing wrong, would you follow that order?
I have to do my job.
And the sergeant from the sheriff's office.
What if it wasn't a certain person? What if the government laid a blanket order down that law enforcement was to be their arm of the government that collected firearms from law-abiding citizens, and they said, hey, you're being ordered to do this by the government, and if you don't do it, then we're going to take your job, Sergeant Morrow, and we're going to fire you. Would you comply then?
I just almost have to. You know, if I'm being told by the government to do it.
Both also in my videos, still up on my page, who would just do their job, despite their job being to violate rights and infringe on the Constitution at that moment, depending on what order they would comply with.
We are only following orders, nothing more.
You are all war criminals. All of you.
Here's another officer that's going to be featured in an upcoming video, where he stopped me for speeding. No problem with that. Then as soon as I exercised my Fifth Amendment and stated, plainly and respectfully, I don't answer questions, he went all quote-unquote contempt of cop on me, and decided that not only did he need to remove me from the vehicle, but also then disarm me. This was all because I exercised a constitutional right. This was the result of contempt of cop mentality by another quote-unquote hero in blue that thinks he can do whatever he wants. This is another subject I talk about, the way tyrant government and officers see the general public when they exercise rights. This officer ties in nicely with Deputy Cobb because he also was fired, or was being fired, from Hopkinsville PD for dishonesty, only to eventually be hired at Dawson Springs PD. Do you really want people like that in law enforcement? I don't. You can decide for yourselves when I eventually decide to edit and post that video. And if you're interested in that, let me tell you about another video that's coming. I'll be making a video showing my pretrial hearing for the speeding violation from that jackass I just showed you a minute ago, wherein a Judge Whitledge, I believe was his name, advised me that I didn't have a right to a jury trial in the state of Kentucky, contrary to what I believe the KRS statute, I believe it's 29 alpha.270 states, as well as the Constitution. This was after the county attorney attempted to tell me that he had never seen the judge grant a jury trial for traffic violations, obviously attempting to dissuade me from requesting one. Just a note on another upcoming video. Now, specifically regarding contemptuous coward on the cob here, here's the paperwork I received regarding former Officer Cobb at Henderson PD, and now current Deputy Cobb at Henderson County Sheriff's Department, feel free to read it for yourself. Let me know if you have any trouble. I'm always here to help. Well, that's it. Oh, wait, I did forget one thing. I'm back!